Anaxa is a broken 5-star Wind Erudition character making waves in the Honkai Star Rail community. While he's still in beta, there's no denying that he's shaping up to be one of the most exciting and versatile characters coming to the game. With his unique ability to stack elemental weaknesses, control enemies, and deal significant damage, Anaxa will be a key player in many team compositions, especially in the Herta teams. Let's dive into what makes him stand out and why he's worth getting excited about. Starting with his basic attack, Torment Brews Truth, it's a simple single-target win DMG move. It's not the most exciting ability on its own, but it sets up Anaxa's other, more complex skills. His skill, Fractal Banishes Falsehoods, really starts to show what he can do. This ability deals damage to a designated enemy, and then bounces to 4 additional enemies. Each of those bounces deals win DMG as well, prioritizing enemies that haven't been hit yet. This makes Anaxa fantastic for dealing with groups of enemies, allowing you to spread damage across the battlefield. Whether you're facing a single boss or a horde of enemies, this skill ensures that Anaxa will consistently hit his targets and deal substantial damage. Next up is Anaxa's ultimate, Genesis of Budding Life. This ability is a game changer. Not only does it deal wind DMG to all enemies, but it also applies the Ascension state to them, inflicting multiple elemental weaknesses, including physical, fire, ice, lightning, wind, quantum, and imaginary weaknesses for one turn. This makes Anaxa incredibly powerful, as enemies will become vulnerable to a wide range of attacks. On top of that, enemies without enough control RES won't be able to act during the Ascension state, locking them down and preventing them from retaliating. The sheer versatility of this ultimate makes Anaxa an invaluable asset to any team, especially when facing tough, multi-phase bosses or large groups of enemies. Anaxa's talent, Tetrad Wisdom, Trinity Supreme, further enhances his ability to deal damage and disrupt enemies. Every time Anaxa attacks, he inflicts a random weakness on the target, prioritizing the types the enemy doesn't already have. This works perfectly with his exposed nature mechanic. If enemies have at least 5 different weaknesses, they're put into the exposed nature state, and Anaxa deals more damage to them. This synergy encourages players to build teams around debuffing and weakening enemies, making Anaxa a perfect fit for teams that focus on exploiting multiple weaknesses. Even better, using his basic ATK or skill on targets in the exposed nature state triggers an additional instance of his skill, allowing Anaxa to dish out even more damage. This extra skill doesn't consume any skill points and can even be directed at a random enemy if the original target is defeated before the extra skill is used. This unique mechanic ensures that Anaxa never runs out of options and is always dishing out damage. When we look at his technique, Hue of the Opened Pupil, Anaxa's ability to control the battlefield becomes even more apparent. This technique causes enemies in a certain area to enter the terrified state, forcing them to flee from Anaxa for 10 seconds. While they're running, Anaxa can attack one of them, applying a weakness of his attack type to every enemy target in battle for 3 turns. This ability allows Anaxa to disrupt enemy formations, forcing them to scatter and making it easier for your team to deal with them. His terrified state can turn the tide of battle, especially when paired with other team members who can capitalize on the weaknesses that Anaxa applies. Anaxa's traces offer additional bonuses that help him excel in any situation. His Win DMG boost and def increases make him a more durable and hard-hitting presence in battle. His Wandering Signifier trace grants him 10 energy regeneration whenever he uses a basic ATK, and his Necessary Blankness trace boosts his Crite DMG based on how many Erudition characters are on the team. This makes Anaxa an even more powerful option for teams focused on dealing huge amounts of damage. Additionally, his Transmuted Quality trace ensures that the more weaknesses an enemy has, the more def Anaxa can ignore when attacking them. This is crucial for taking down high-def enemies, as Anaxa will be able to bypass their defenses with ease. What makes Anaxa especially strong is his potential synergy with other characters. He pairs perfectly with the Herta, who excels at exploiting frequent AoE attacks. The combination of Anaxa's ability to stack multiple weaknesses and the Herta's very high damage will create devastating damage output. Tribbie also benefits from Anaxa's constant attacks. Together, These characters will create a synergy that's hard to beat. Anaxa's Eidolons further enhance his potential. His E1 recovers skill points after using his skill and lowers enemy def, making him even more effective at dealing damage. E2 increases his SPD and adds extra wind DMG to his ultimate, giving Anaxa even more firepower. E4 boosts his ATK when using his skill, and E6 increases his DMG permanently as he inflicts the Ascension state. These Eidolons are perfect for players looking to maximize Anaxa's potential and make him an even more dominant force in battle. Finally, Anaxa's signature light cone increases his crit rate and energy regeneration, while also reducing enemy def when they're debuffed by Anaxa's abilities. This artifact complements Anaxa's kit, ensuring that he can keep attacking and applying constant pressure to enemies while lowering their defenses. Anaxa is shaping up to be a game-changer in Honkai Star Rail. His ability to deal massive damage, lock down enemies, and exploit weaknesses will make him a top pick for many team compositions. And with his synergy with characters like the Herta and Tribbie, Anaxa will be an essential part of any team focused on maximizing damage. If you're looking for a character who can handle both offense and support, Anaxa is definitely one to keep an eye on when he officially releases.